What's going on, buddy? Eason, and welcome back to another video. And today, guys, we're going to be getting into topic 1.3 for AP Comparative Government and Politics. So we're going to be getting into the difference between authoritarian and democratic regimes. Remember, regimes are the set of rules and normality that a government and political culture contain within a country. The two regimes in our course are authoritarian and democratic regimes. Democratic regimes in our course are Nigeria, the United Kingdom, and Mexico. Now, something to know is that Nigeria and Mexico are emerging democracies. What does that mean? Well, that means they are emerging to the democratic regime because they were previously authoritarian regimes. So now we're going to see a lot more aspects of democratic regimes, which we're going to cover in just a second, but still some old roots and different characteristics from the authoritarian regimes that they once were. The authoritarian regimes in our course are Iran, Russia, and China. Now, based off that information, just what the countries are, you could probably think of various characteristics that drastically contrast the two regimes. Now, some characteristics of democratic regimes are rule of law. So is the government not above the law? Is there impeachment? Can members of government be removed or arrested for doing bad things? Nobody in the government is using it for their own gain. That's rule of law. Now, fair, competitive, and free elections. Is it fair? So the government isn't adding votes or censoring the media. Is it competitive? So multiple political parties can run. And free elections. Can citizens of the country vote regardless of their gender or sexual orientation? Then there's protection of civil rights and liberties. Can one speak against the government? Can one just live without the government interfering with their lives? Then there's an independent judiciary. So can someone be held innocent until proven guilty? Or is the judiciary free and non-biased against someone who may or may have not broken the law? And is it also used to protect the citizens and enforce the laws of the country? In Russia, which is not a democratic regime, must I add, the president has used the judiciary to target those with opposing political parties and views to him. Now, speaking of authoritarian regimes, we can see characteristics in them like this. Low government transparency. So is the government really telling you what's happening or what they're implementing in the policies before they enforce them and send them out to the public? Is there limited political participation? So are the people in the country being able to vote for their candidates and legislators? And is there a high government role in restrictions? If yes, it is in authoritarian regimes, because we can see the media being censored, or the government telling the citizens what they can do, what they cannot do, more often than in a democratic regimes. This doesn't mean that democratic regimes are total anarchy with no restrictions. This just means authoritarian ones are going to have more regulations against the citizens, maybe taking away those civil rights and civil liberties that we talked about are protected under democratic regimes. Thinking about the Transparency International scores from our topic 1.1 video, we can think that authoritarian regimes are probably going to have lower scores than democratic regimes because they're going to have the least amount of government transparency. Back to government regulation, in Iran, all presidents and laws must follow Islamic or Sharia law. This makes Iran a theocracy because the government is based off religious rules and is run by a religious leader, creating little separation between the church and the state. In China, we can find a one-party system because only one party is allowed to run for government, which is the Communist Party of China. There's little political participation and candidates for government roles are chosen by the party. Our final authoritarian country, Russia, is a illiberal democracy. Yes, it is still authoritarian. This is known as a hybrid regime. Hybrid regimes are where elections are held, but they aren't free, fair, and competitive like most democratic regimes. In recent elections, it has been proven that Putin's elections and wins haven't been completely honest, fair, and transparent. For example, the judiciaries have been used against the opposition. We talked about that earlier. Also, the control of the media by the government has controlled what is shared in and out of the country. Speaking of restrictions, totalitarian governments take things to the next level, trying to control every single thing about its society and people. Doesn't sound very fun. The Mongols would not approve. Back when Nigeria was a baby and an authoritarian regime, it was a military country, with the military being a bossy baby and controlling the government. But now it's all grown up in a democratic regime, so it can join its buddies, Mexico and the United Kingdom, as democratic regimes. Their branches of government fly and be independent because the branches of national government and democratic regimes are more likely to be independent of one another than in authoritarian regimes. Independence can serve to prevent any one branch from controlling all government power, so they have power spread out equally to avoid corruption and other issues. And that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. It's free. You can change your mind later on if you don't like to do that. But it really does help me out. So please consider doing it. In the description, I have a link to a Google Doc, which is a bunch of review resources for AP Comparative Government. I have more YouTube videos on those if you want to check those out as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.